We're back with some more Senior Bowl coverage, and let's go on to the American team now in this one and talk about it, what happened, starting with the DBs. We'll go through all these players. I want to start off with a guy who's going to rise up boards big time, Mac McWilliams. What a great name, too. He is a guy that I honestly didn't see this coming at all, but this dude has the fluidity. He's got the hips. He can cover. He can make interceptions. He was phenomenal. He had a couple of great reps, and I think he's a guy that could rise up into day two very easily. Let's keep going down this list. Talk about some guys who I thought struggled a bit. Jacob Parrish, as we continue down the board here. Parrish, I like Parrish coming out of Kansas State. I like this feistiness, and I still think it's there, but I did see him get beat a couple of times out in the one-on-ones and showed up with the size limitations. He's really going to be a slot guy only. You got Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky. He had some really good reps. He looks like he could go in round one, even possibly. I would still lean towards round two at the moment, but it would not shock me if he goes round one. Really fluid guy. Here's another dude in zone coverage. If you're a zone-heavy team, I think he makes so much sense to you. I don't know if he's going to be your press man cover guy. I just don't know if he has the physical traits for that, but I do like him, and I like his twitchiness and fluidity. Then we got Dante Traders. We get into his safeties here. Trader looked good. I thought he had a couple of nice reps one-on-one versus Mason Taylor. He played him really, really well. I was actually a way overthrown ball by Riley Leonard, his worst pass of the day. Other than that, Riley Leonard was really good. We'll get into him in a moment. But Trader looked really solid athlete. Not an elite athlete, but a good athlete, and he looked good in general in the practices. Billy Bowman Jr., excellent rep versus Cameron DK. He made an interception, broke on the pass. He literally ran the route for him and had one of the best interceptions that I've seen so far in the Senior Bowl practices. I really want to continue to see that with Billy Bowman because I thought he was a second-round pick going into this offseason. Just kind of having a bit of a down year, but definitely showing up here at the Senior Bowl. Caleb Ransaw, he got beat on one rep I saw. Hunter Waller did get beat in the practices. It was a little bit of a play-action play. Jalen Milroe to Mason Taylor, who made a great one-handed catch. And Waller, though, I love the aggressiveness he plays with, and he definitely has the size profile you look for sure. Upton Stout, little one-on-one with Jack Besh at the end of the practices for the American team. I thought he played a really good rep there versus Besh, who is a bigger receiver, and he's probably not going to go up against guys like that at the next level in the NFL. He's going to be more of a slot guy, and I felt like he held his own, though, versus Besh. And we continue down the board here into the defensive linemen and the one-on-one reps. We'll get into some of that talk. Tim Smith, practice-wise, he had a free rush. He came along in the one-on-ones. I thought he looked fine. I think he's going to be a one-tech type of dude, a good run defender. He's not really much of a pass rusher, and I didn't really see a whole ton of that either in the one-on-one reps. He was fine, though. I think he's got good power. Cam Jackson, though, he was one of the better players on the interior there for Florida rusher. He's a big guy, and he's got some strength. I love the rep where he's going against him and Willie Lampkin. It's like total opposite ends of the spectrum, but Jackson got the best of him really on both of the reps, but especially the first one. Jackson showing off some power to his game. Deone Walker struggled. Other than the practices, he did look good in the practices, and a guy his size, we knew that leverage was a problem with him, and it showed up majorly in the one-on-one. Clay Webb was dominant versus Deone Walker, shut him down, and I think it's going to lower his draft stock. He's going to be more of a round 3 type of prospect at this point, especially with just the lack of pass rush, the lack of leverage. It's a problem. And it really, these stronger offensive linemen at the next level that can leverage and lock out are going to be able to hone in on Deone Walker. But if he can do what he did versus Bayer, who had a dominant rest versus Jacob Bayer, I believe, who played center, Arkansas State man, I believe. Anyway, we'll get into him here in a minute. I felt like if he can do stuff like that, when it all clicks together, you see the flashes, and that's what Deone Walker is going to be. You're going to see those reps where it's like, oh my gosh, it's only one of one that can do that. That's Deone Walker, but then there'll be other plays where he's just completely shut down. Here's where we get into some interesting guys, right? The Ole Miss cats. Jared Ivey, great practice reps. He was good in the one-on-ones as well. Here's an underrated guy. He could easily go into round 2. I thought he was very, very strong going one-on-one in practices and one-on-one reps too. And overall, somebody that keep an eye on in versatility that can play in like a 3-4 defense, can play base D end, can play a little bit off the edge. Certain teams are going to really like what Ivey brings to the table. Nolan Smith, though, is going to win a lot of the hearts out there at the Senior Bowl. He may end up going top 15 after this, especially if he puts together a strong showing tomorrow. He looked really good. right from the get-go. He was right there, front and center. He ended up winning with some speed, with some burst. He won versus Webb, who I thought was one of the better interior offensive linemen with some power. Walter Nolen has certainly earned a lot of attention after today, and for good reason. They had to double team him in practices because it's like, yo, Walter Nolen's this good. Now, Miles Frazier, I thought, gave him some good run there at the right guard position on that right side in the team practices. Overall, though, Walter Nolen looked exceptional one-on-one. Then you got Prince Umayyalon. I just didn't really, whenever he was going, he got shut down on a spin move by, was it Carson Vincent? I forget who he went against one-on-one, but he kind of got shut down by a spin move, and just general didn't see a whole ton from Umayyalon, so I want to see him come out a little bit better, a little stronger tomorrow. Kyle Kennard, I still like Kyle Kennard. I only really saw him on like one-on-one rep, so I wanted to see more of Kyle Kennard. That one-on-one rep was like a tie. It was a stalemate. He kind of won, but at the same time, the offense lineman also a little bit won too. TJ Sanders had some really good moments in the practices. The one-on-ones, a little disappointing. I want to see a little bit more. I still like Sanders a lot. Like, he's a really good pass rusher on the interior. Thought he might be able to get a little bit more advantage there at the one-on-ones, but in the practices, he really shined. Had a couple of really, really nice reps as well. Omarr Norman-Lott, another dude that shined in the practices, had a dominant rep. Just like Deone Walker, he had a dominant rep one-on-one in the practice drills. And then also, or the team drills, should I call it? I keep calling them the practice drills, but the team drills, the 11-11, he was really good there. He had a free rush where he showed off his explosive burst off the line of scrimmage. And that's what Norman-Lott is. Like, he's a guy that's going to be super explosive, really creative pass rusher that you can develop. Needs to get better probably in the run game. That's going to be continued areas for him to get better at. But overall, I thought Norman-Lott looked really, really good and showed off some high-end flashes there as a pass rusher. Could easily be a day 2, round 2 type of player. Then we go on to some edge rushers here. You got Shemar Stewart, the talk of the town. I know they were talking about him the entire broadcast. Where's Shemar Stewart out there? I think he was wearing number 14 today. But Shemar Stewart, yeah, you don't see athletes like this. He is literally like 290 pounds. It's like 6'5", 6'6". He is an elite athlete for a guy his size. I am no doubt about that. But I don't think he's quite there yet as an overall finished prospect. So teams are going to have to still understand that. And at the final, when he was going up against best on best, Carson Vincent, who was going to do 25 push-ups, Vincent got the best of him. And it just kind of showing off a lot of these guys. If you're going to pull that spin move, you better be ready. You gotta be good on that spin move, because a lot of these offensive linemen are sitting down on these spin moves. And with Shemar Stewart, who can do spin moves, which is the wild element of it, he's that athletic. It wasn't a bad rep or anything like that. And even when you go into the one-on-ones, when you saw him, he won a really nice one, a power move versus Emory Jones. But I felt like he did a good job there, and he had some good speed to the edge as well versus Jonas Salvanaia. Let's go on, though. Again, I think Stewart's a first-round guy. I just think he's he is definitely more in the teens. I'm not looking to take him top 10, more like 15 to 25, even later if possible. Like, end of the first round, I feel good about that. I understand the athletic traits, and teams they're gonna value that immensely. And then you got Tyron Ingram-Dawkins. He had a nice rep. I saw him definitely show up there. I want to see more of him as the week progresses. Linebacker-wise, who stuck out to me? None of these guys really. Demetrius Knight looked good. He had a nice run stop. Shamar James, the one-on-one versus R.J. Harvey. Harvey just had a great route, but James was there, and he was, if it weren't for that last little subtle move, that last shake that R.J. Harvey showed, and Harvey, man, I was really impressed by him. But James looked pretty good. I think he's an athletic guy. He's long too, and certainly has the potential to be a really good linebacker. He was the one guy that stuck out to me. Let me go on to some offensive linemen here. Carson Vincent, first and foremost, up on this list. He stuck out like a sore thumb. He looked great. He won every single rep he went up against. Doesn't matter the competition level. He looked great. I am really excited to see Carson Vincent. I need to go get my hands on some footage of Alabama A&M, because this guy could legit rise up into day 2 even. Maybe he ends up going day 3. I think you're getting a steal out here with Carson Vincent. He really looked good. I'm very impressed with him. Jonas Salvanaia looked okay. I think he still should end up moving into guard. He played over at right tackle on those one-on-ones and whatnot, but Salvanaia still looks strong. I think his movement skills are going to struggle a little bit more for some speed. Jacob Byer had some ups and downs. He had a couple of really nice reps and then a couple of losses too. We talked about the Deone Walker rep where he just got sat back into the lap and got pushed back immediately off the line. those are some things. He maybe doesn't have the size profile some of those other guys have. But I was impressed for an Arkansas State cat. He showed up, man. He wasn't just some small school guy that was out of nowhere. He definitely showed up and has some nice valiant reps. Clay Webb, though, here's the small school guy. I really am a big fan of him going into the offseason. He had one loss to Walter Nolen. Besides that, he was clean throughout the entirety of the process. His lateral agility was very, very good, very much on display. He's got powerful hands. I think Clay Webb is a day 2 possible guy. He even took a rep at center versus Dion Walker and looked great there. So keep an eye on Clay Webb. I think round 3, round 4 makes a lot of sense for him. Grant Dellinger really struggled with speed, even got pushed back at times too. Dellinger is going to need to have a bigger day tomorrow to get back on track and at least be more of a round 4 through round 7 guy. Miles Frazier looks solid, especially in the practices. One-on-ones, he was pretty good too. I thought he had some really strong hands and showed the experience level that he has too. Over at that right guard position is really where he was at, and he looked good. He went against some of the better guys out there, and I feel like he did a good job versus Walter Nolen. I felt like he had some of the best reps versus Walter Nolen in the practices. Corey Jones, a little up and down. I think he is more of that 4th round guy at the moment, 4th, 5th round. There's some development to have, and I almost would say maybe you kick him inside the guard. He's got some power, but I did see him struggle a little bit with some speed. Armin Embu was out today with illness, so we didn't see him, unfortunately. Willie Lampkin, he's going to be a scheme-based guy. Maybe he ends up being like an Aaron Brewer type of player, who knows, but size will be his limiting factor. Maybe he ends up being like a fullback type of player for you. Still like him, it's just he's going to be more of like a 7th round UDFA type pickup. Jackson Slater, unfortunately wasn't the greatest showing there, but he had a couple of good reps too, so I want to state that with Jackson Slater. Let's keep an eye out on him as the season progresses. Logan Brown had some good one-on-ones. He had one loss, but besides that, I thought he was pretty good throughout practices in the one-on-ones. Then we go on to the quarterback position. It was really tough to stand out. Jalen Milroe, Riley Leonard, Jackson Dart, Seth Hennigan. They really didn't stand out. I would say Hennigan was the most aggressive out of the bunch. Most of the time, Milroe, Dart, it was a lot of checkdowns, get to the running back, tight end, simple routes. So I just need to see more with these guys. It's just way too early. I will say that Dart had an overthrow on a play action boot, so that was one thing. Riley Leonard had an overthrow on the one-on-one with Mason Taylor. It was good coverage, as I talked about earlier with the Dante Trader play. But yeah, that was the only overthrow that. Other than that, I will say Riley Leonard probably had the best throw of the day. It was over the middle of the field to Ty Felton, and I thought the timing was there, the rhythm, and he stepped up into the throw. Besides that, like I said, the quarterback position was tough to judge today. Let's go on to the running back position. I want to highlight RJ Harvey. I feel like that one receiving route was just one of the best that I have seen there, and that ability, that subtle fake that he had to be able to go up against Shemar James, who's a really good player, and I think he could be a nice coverage linebacker at the next level. I was really impressed with RJ Harvey. Jarquez Hunter, I saw him on a receiving spot as well, a receiving catch, and he showed off some bursts, so I like Hunter a lot as well. I think he's a great round 4 steal. Then we go on, Marcus Yarns. He could get fooled with the Delaware helmet. No, there's is that Donovan Edwards? No, it's Marcus Yarns. Keep an eye on him. Devin Neal, same thing. A lot of these guys now. Another dude who stuck out, though, to me at the running back position, which, again, you have to stick out there to really to get a highlight at the running back position because it's hard. Brashad Smith. He had one of the best runs that I saw, period. His patience to set up that run to make a big play and to get to the outside was incredible. So I got to give him a highlight. He looked great. And then we go on to the tight end position. Jake Brenningstool, I thought had a nice couple of plays there, had a nice route, nice catch. CJ Dupree, going to be more of a blocker guy. I don't think he's going to be much of a receiving dude. Mason Taylor looked pretty good. Other than that one rep versus Dante Trader, he had that great one-handed catch by Milroe. And then we go down the list. Thomas Fidone, want to see more of him. I like Fidone. He's a little bit bigger than I thought he was. Keep an eye on him. Haas is more of your blocker. He's one of the best blockers in this class. And then we'll finish up here with the wide receivers. You got Isaac Tesla, who hopefully has a Tesla, even though it's a different way to say it. But he had a nice rep versus Maxwell Harrison in practice. I mean, Harrison was in good hip pocket there, but Tesla was able to adjust and make the catch. It was a bit of a double catch, I will say. But at least he high-pointed the ball and keep an eye on him. I thought he looked okay in the one-on-one reps. He got Cameron Dike from Florida. He had an up-and-down day. He had some wins. He had some losses. Like the one interception we're talking about with Billy Bowman. I almost just chalk that up to Billy Bowman making a dominant play. But I felt like that he had a nice out route there on in practice, so we'll keep an eye on DK. Arian Smith didn't really see him. Ty Felton, I felt like was the most consistent receiver for the most part. Solid route runner, not an elite athlete, but looked smooth. He made the catches. So in general, Ty Felton looked solid. He had a good day. Jamal Pritchett, a little up and down there. I don't know. We'll see about him. He needs to have a better day tomorrow. I feel like Brew McCoy. Jalen Royals did what you need to do. He was solid. He had a nice little deep post. He was able to create enough separation for him, showed off hands. Nothing crazy with Jalen Royals just yet to higher my ranking. And that's in general with these wide receivers for the American team weren't like super impressive in my opinion. Jack Besh had a nice crosser in the practice, but in the one-on-ones, he doesn't really have the crazy separation. But I will say he's a solid athlete for his size, and with his size, he's able to kind of box out really well. He almost had the highlight one-handed catch versus Upton Stout in that one-on-one, just wasn't able to. I think he mistimed it a little bit. Anyway, Jack Besh, solid wide receiver. I think he could end up being the highest receiver taken out of these guys. Him and Ty Felton and Jalen Royals, I would say, stand out the most in this receiving room as of right now. Anyway, that's going to do it here for the American team and the overall coverage of Senior Bowl Day 1. Can't wait for Day 2. Let me know your thoughts overall. Day 1 winners, losers, and can't wait. Let's go.